My name is Rich Harrington, and welcome to this edition of Understanding Adobe Photoshop. Today, we're going to tackle Photoshop's panoramic merging capabilities, which is a great way to take several photos and stitch them together to create a much larger picture. Now, panoramic photography is a very traditional art form, and it creates some beautiful images. The thing is, though, is up until Photoshop got involved, it was very expensive and often very difficult to do. Cool thing here is that Photoshop can now stitch the images together very seamlessly, making it easy for folks to put their own panoramic photos together. Now, let's go ahead and start this process. I'm going to go ahead and jump right to some images. And here's the end result. Now you see lots of pictures combined together. We've straightened out the horizon line a bit, and we've got a lot of different things in play. This particular panoramic photo is one that I took in Stone, Croatia, and it comes from a Understanding Photoshop training video series called Creating Panoramics that you can find on Apple iTunes. Today we're going to explore the basics, but you're welcome to go deeper if you'd like. Just head on over to iTunes and check that out. Let's go here into the panoramic here. We'll open that up. And you see we have several images, in this case 11 photos. And each picture has some overlap with the one next to it, creating a combined view that's a very wide angle field. Now, when I shoot a panoramic, I prefer to use a tripod, and in fact my tripod has some units marked out on it, making it easier to see the angles of rotation. But you can even do this handheld because Photoshop's that forgiving. What you want to try to do is aim for 30 to 40% overlap between each picture. So in the case here, you notice we have all 4 windows in the frame. We go to the next one, and you see that there's still substantial overlap between each image. The more overlap you give Photoshop, the less distortion you'll see at the edges because it's got a lot of pixel data to work with. Essentially what you're doing are taking several photos and laying them on top of each other and basically bending them into a wider, flat view. Now, this is a very cool way to create interactive views of a large scene, and it can be really impressive because you can see more than your camera can usually take. Here's how it works. Now, I'm going to select all those images in Bridge and choose Tools, Photoshop, Photo Merge. And they're sent over to Adobe Photoshop and loaded into the Photo Merge dialog. You could also access that dialog by choosing File, Automate Photo Merge, but I find it easier to browse in Bridge and locate the files that I want to use. Once that's all set, you've got all sorts of options here, but in the simplest view, Auto is going to work almost every time. And we'll tell the images to blend together. What Blend does is analyze the images and then apply an automatic layer mask to gently blend the two together. Works very well, and it's quite simple to use. Let's go ahead and click OK, and Photoshop has to start processing. Now, what's going to happen here is every single image is going to be opened up and added to a new document for you. And depending upon the resolution that you're working with, this can take a while. If you're using RAW files, I recommend that you develop the RAW files first and then output some JPEG or TIFF from those high-resolution RAW files. This can be a time-consuming process depending upon the speed of your computer and how much RAM you have installed, but the results are very worth it. Notice here it's analyzing the images and attempting to auto-align them. It's looking for similar details between each layer, and it attempts to position the pictures, as you see there. Now we're getting a little bit of an exposure blend, and what it's doing now is it's going to hide those seams between each photo. Looks great. It hid the exposure change. Let's go ahead and grab the eyedropper tool. And inside that eyedropper tool is the ruler tool. I'm going to look for a horizon line. Zoom in so it's easier to see, Command plus. And we're going to consider that to be our horizon line. There we go. And we can now say Image, Rotation, Arbitrary, and it will go ahead and straighten the image using that rotation. And that's just compensating for the fact that I shot this picture on a stone bridge with a tripod while juggling my children in an international country. It wasn't perfectly level. I didn't have time to get everything just right, but fortunately Photoshop makes it easy. There we go. Looks a lot better now. We've got a nice even horizon line there off of that stair, which seemed to be one of the key areas of levelness in the photo. I can go ahead and flatten this image if I'm satisfied with it. And we'll go ahead and take the crop tool, C, and just crop out what we want to keep in this picture. That looks good. And hit return, and we've got our panoramic photo. Now, we can go ahead and clone in missing details and do all sorts of color correction. All I'm going to do to finish this one out quickly is just pop the sky. I'm going to grab the quick selection tool and drag through the sky there. Get a nice quick selection. There we go. Go over to adjustments and add some vibrancy. Just put that up. Make the sky nice and rich. Looks good. And let's go back. And we'll deselect all of our layers and add a photo filter. And we'll just go ahead and cool that down a little bit to make it a little bit later in the day. That looks good. Or we can actually warm it up as well, whatever you prefer. That looks pretty good to me, actually. So I'm going to go with that with a lower density and call the image done. So there you have it. Panoramic photos, down and dirty, easy to do. Photoshop makes it a snap. For understanding Adobe Photoshop, my name's Rich Harrington.